Radiation interaction at the atomic level results in molecular change, which can produce a cell that is deficient in terms of normal growth. So how does radiation affect the embryo, the fetus, and the child? Our objective today is to discuss those effects, differentiate the level of radiosensitivity of each stage of pregnancy, discuss developmental abnormalities, explain significance of exposure in the clinical dose range, describe recommended safety management procedures and guidelines for pregnant patients, and discuss pediatric considerations during conventional X-ray imaging. All life forms seem to be most vulnerable to radiation during the embryonic stage of development. The period of gestation during which the embryo or fetus is exposed to radiation determines the effects the radiation will have. Because gestation is the process or period of development inside the womb between conception and birth, human cells are changing from immature to more mature, and if you recall from the law of Bergoni and Trebedeau, they are therefore naturally more sensitive to the effects of ionizing radiation. Growth begins when the sperm of the male unites with an egg from a female, and then fertilization will take place in the female fallopian tubes. Following fertilization, the embryo undergoes several cell divisions. The fertilized egg cell divides into 2 equal cells, and these 2 cells divide into 4 cells. Division continues with growth, and a ball of cells called a morula is formed. Each cell in the morula is capable of forming a complete human being. Early human development is a dynamic and complex and multidimensional process. So during the first week, the single-cell zygote undergoes 8 to 9 rounds of cell division, forming organized embryonic tissue. When the morula passes down the fallopian tubes into the uterus, it sticks to the walls of the uterus and it implants itself in the thick wall. And this occurs at about 10 days post-fertilization. This would be the end of the pre-implantation stage. During development, cells are at first undifferentiated and are dividing at a high rate. So at the end of the pre-implantation stage, at this point, the cells are all undifferentiated. That means they have no structure or function at this time. Eventually, they begin to group together and each develop into a different organ or system. The differentiation into various organs is called organogenesis. By the end of the 6th week, most of the organs are formed and only growth takes place for the remainder of the pregnancy. Gestation in humans or pregnancy is divided into 3 stages, and we have to determine which is the most sensitive to radiation. Pre-implantation corresponds to 0 to 9 days after conception. And then you have organogenesis, which corresponds to approximately 10 days to 12 weeks after conception. And then the fetal stage, which corresponds to the end of the pregnancy term. Now, it has been established that the first trimester is the most sensitive. And why do you think that is? In the 2nd and the 3rd trimesters, fetal radiation sensitivity will decrease as the gestation progresses or the fetus develops. So congenital abnormalities, leukemia, and sterility, there is always a risk of these things occurring because of the radiation exposure. And this obviously depends on the amount of exposure given. To reiterate, there are 3 stages of development: pre-implantation, organogenesis, and fetal growth stage, all of which occur at different time periods. The effects of low-level ionizing radiation on the embryo and fetus can only be estimated. Documentation of the effects of low-level ionizing radiation on the unborn is said to be insufficient because abnormalities do occur, even although they're in small percentages, they occur in all live births within a population. In addition, no birth abnormalities are unique to high levels of radiation. Abnormalities in this context are the same as those that occur naturally. However, if the exposure occurs during a period of major organogenesis, the abnormalities may be more pronounced. Because the embryo and fetus is very sensitive to radiation, radiation workers should exercise caution and employ appropriate safety measures when performing diagnostic radiography procedures. that result in any kind of dose to the unborn. Most diagnostic procedures result in equivalent doses less than 0.01 sievert, and such doses are not usually considered dangerous to the unborn. The first trimester of pregnancy is, like I mentioned before, the most critical period for radiation exposure of the embryo and fetus. Radiation-induced congenital abnormalities can occur approximately 10 days to 12 weeks after conception. Skeletal abnormalities occur most frequently from weeks 3 to 20. Radiation exposure in the second and the third trimester can cause congenital abnormalities, functional disorders, and a predisposition to the development of childhood cancer. Looking back at the pre-implantation stage, small amounts of radiation as little as 0.05 to 0.15 can kill a developing human. If the cells are not killed, then it will continue with its development normally. Malformations resulting from radiation exposure do not occur at this stage. Organogenesis, as mentioned, which occurs at approximately 10 days to 12 weeks, is most susceptible to radiation-induced congenital abnormalities because this is the time when the undifferentiated cells are beginning to differentiate into organs. Ultimately, the risk of malformation will depend on the period of organogenesis at the time of irradiation and is probably especially high during the most active phase of cell multiplication and differentiation. Because dose thresholds may apply to these effects, they appear to be deterministic in nature. Thresholds are estimated to be 100 millisievert. Now, when you combine a high dose of radiation with a late stage of organogenesis, fatal abnormalities in the fetus will cause neonatal death, or what we call death at birth. If the neonate does not die and survives the radiation dose, abnormalities as a consequence of the irradiation will include things like growth inhibition, mental retardation, microcephaly, which is a condition where the head circumference is smaller than normal and may cause damage to the developing brain tissue, and genital deformities can occur, as well as sense organ damage, to name a few. So looking at the last stage again, which is the fetal development stage, in this stage the cells are differentiated and are in the growth process. Fetal sensitivity decreases during this stage, and only the nervous system is sensitive to radiation at this time. The reason for this is that the nervous system continues to develop until after the birth of the baby. It continues until adolescence. The incidence of leukemia produced by radiation exposure continues to be quite high during this stage as well, and functional disorders are possible. So let's look at the safety management procedures that we have to put in place. Whenever a female patient of childbearing age is to undergo an X-ray examination, it is essential that the radiographer carefully question the patient regarding any possibility of pregnancy. Part of the questioning involves asking the patient for the date of her last menstrual period. If the patient is to receive a substantial pelvic irradiation and there is some doubt about her pregnancy, then provided there are no overriding medical concerns, it is strongly recommended that the result of a pregnancy test be obtained before the pelvis is irradiated. For all female patients of childbearing age, using a gonadal shield when the uterus and the ovaries are within the field of view is advisable, as long as the presence of the shield does not disrupt the interpretation of the image. It is important to note that for children up to the age of 10 years, the probability of fatal cancer induction is maybe 2 to 3 times or 15% higher than an older person that's, let's say, 60 years old. So for pregnant women, the risk is the same as for the average population. However, the unborn child is assumed to have the same risk as a young child of developing a fatal cancer, which is about 2 to 3 times or 15% higher per sievert. So it's very important as a technologist to do your due diligence and always be asking a female of childbearing age, that's between the age of 11 and 55, if there's any chance they may be pregnant. Radiological examinations of the pelvic area in the woman of childbearing age should be undertaken in the 10-day period following the onset of menstruation. since the risk of pregnancy is very small during this time period. Care must be taken to protect the fetus from radiation when the X-ray examination is not avoidable. The guidelines that you see in this PowerPoint slide is from the Safety Code 35, Section A 3.2, and it is recommended that we follow these guidelines for pregnant women. Ultimately, the choice to perform a diagnostic or X-ray procedure is made by weighing the benefits versus the risks, weighing the expected medical benefit of the examination to make a diagnosis against the risk of the exposure, the radiation exposure to the unborn child. Now, you can implement safety management procedures to reduce the radiation dose that the child would receive. You can take a reduced number of images, you can modify your technique factors, your exposure time, you can provide shielding, carefully collimate the radiation beam. There are various things that you are capable of doing to reduce that dose to as low as reasonably achievable. If you accidentally took an image of a pregnant person's abdomen, not knowing that she was pregnant at the time, it is your duty to inform a physician or the medical physicist, who is the expert in calculating the radiation dose to the abdomen. If the uterus was not in the X-ray beam, though, and the dose is estimated to be below 1 millisievert, an evaluation is not necessary. If, however, the pregnancy is known and you are still expected to take the radiograph of the abdomen or the pelvis, it would be wise to choose a prone position. This has the effect of shielding the fetus from the softer X-rays, thereby reducing the fetal dose. This is easier said than done because it would be really hard to achieve this position if the patient was in their last trimester of pregnancy. Based on research, it should be emphasized that abortion is a very drastic decision that should not be taken without very serious reasons. Below 100 millisievert, abortion on the ground of radiation alone should not be considered. Above 100 millisievert, individual circumstances should be taken into account. According to the European Commission on Radiation Protection, even a dose to the unborn child as high as several hundred milligray may not in all circumstances lead to advice for abortion. So what happens if the patient is breastfeeding? What advice do you give them? We know that PET or SPECT scanning, which is used, it's a nuclear medicine scan, which is used in combination with CT. It uses radionuclides or radioisotopes to visualize a certain area of the body. Now, if breastfeeding is to be continued before or after this procedure, it is recommended that the patient express the breast milk some days before and store it to be given to the child after the procedure is complete. After the PET or the SPECT scan is done, the patient has to express the breast milk once again and discard the milk. So when you're taking X-rays on a child, it should be planned to deliver the minimum amount of exposure. Radiological examinations of infants and children should only be done using techniques and loading factors which have been modified for their size and age. There are several summary points which I would like you to review, which captures everything we have done in this module. And additional reading, if you would like to learn a little bit more about this, it can be referenced to the Radiation Protection in Medical Radiography textbook, Chapter 9 and Chapter 12.